Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beatles Forever. In our last episode, George's guitar Lucy was taken, and somehow Mal managed to get it back. So the next day, Mal celebrated his birthday, which was his 38th, at the Beverly Hills Hotel in style. While lounging by the pool, he was surrounded by bikini-clad beauties soaking up the sun. Mal wrote that evening, "I was to enjoy the company of George, Ringo, and friends, Lakshmi Shankar's beautiful singing, in a concert of Indian music." A few days later, Mal returned to Sunbury after a 3-month absence. It was the longest time he'd been away from his family, a month longer, in fact, than his 1968 American jaunt, which nearly ended with Lil's filing for divorce. Though the trip home was a disaster, Lil found photos in his luggage of him and other women. In his diary, Mal said that Lil and I fight in front of the children. Gary gets really upset and cries. Julie seems unconcerned, but she is a lot younger. But somehow Mal talked his way out of any further confrontation, at least for the moment. The next day, the couple enjoyed a beautiful day with the children at the Chessington Zoo. Then, after he had spent only 80 hours back in England that week, he decided to go back to L.A. He wrote, "I felt so sad walking away from Gary at the airport," he scrawled in his diary. "Please don't stop loving me, son. May God protect you always." The urgency to get back to L.A. contradicts what he wrote in his diary. During his first week back in the States, he lounged on a Malibu beach, gazed at the smog hovering over L.A., and watched hours of mindless television. He finally got back to work on June 16th, which was Lil's 37th birthday, when he and George drove out to the record plant West, located on S456 West 3rd Street, to book studio time for remixing Robbie's album. While at the studio, Mal looked at the photos on the record plant's wall of fame. It consisted of portraits of the facility's female staffers. Mal then caught sight of a beautiful strawberry blonde wearing a micro bikini and an elaborate headdress. He found out she was Francine Hughes, the 24-year-old manager of the record plant West. Fran ran the studio calendar. She was the nerve center of the studio. When Mal saw her picture, he wanted to take Fran out. But at that particular time, Mal said, I was a large, overweight, hairy roadie with quite a magnificent beard. Now, Francine was quite used to having people try to pull her, he wrote, using the English term for hit on her for very obvious reasons. So she didn't take to me at first. George was getting tired of listening to Mal talk about the eye-catching manager. So he decided to take matters into his own hands. George said to Fran, "Go out with him just one night," adding, with a well-practiced smile, "or you're fired." Fran may have been responsible for the book of appointments, but George was a Beatle, and he had just delivered an ultimatum. Fran agreed to go with Mal to a party at Peter Asher's house. As Mal recalled, she got quite drunk, mainly, I'm sure, to escape from me and any attentions I might have on her. But Mal played his cards carefully. I was a perfect gentleman, as always, never making any advances, taking her home safe and sound. His plan must have worked because Fran agreed to see him again after he returned from his upcoming trip to England. Mal wrote in his diary that prior to returning to London in late July, he had at the very least fallen in love with Francine. "The hands of fate brought us together," he wrote, "and tied the knot of love forever around my heart." Mal returned to England, and it didn't involve Lil and the kids. Back in the States, Mal had received assurances from George that Splinter was on the verge of a major opportunity because of the Little Malcolm soundtrack. On the strength of the song Lonely Man, George was interested in producing Splinter's debut album, which he intended to record at his newly completed Far Park home studio. Mal had also begun to make further preparations for his new life as a professional songwriter. Inspired by George's positive words about his song Lonely Man, he started churning out lyrics at a remarkable rate. With You and Me, Babe, set for a late autumn release on the Ringo LP, and Lonely Man not far behind, he moved forward with a renewed sense of confidence. At a mid-July entry, he started designing a personal logo. In short, he was a man both in love and on a mission. What could possibly go wrong? Don't ask that. Mal didn't want to rest on his 2 songs. He was determined to continue refining his craft. He even went to famed songwriter Jimmy Webb at his home in Encino, California, for mentorship. The composer had written songs like Wichita Lion Man, Up, Up and Away, and MacArthur Park. Webb remembered when Mal turned up at his door. Webb said songs were difficult for him. Even so, Mal made agonizing but steady progress as a songwriter. The results were there, as Mal slowly but surely honed his ability to turn a memorable phrase or to capture an emotion. When Mal wasn't writing lyrics in his diary and notebooks, he was studying all the angles, attempting to get the best possible deal for Splinter in advance of their autumn recording sessions. Apple Records were set to expire with the Beatles partnership, and George was eager to sign the duo to a contract with his Dark Horse label. And that label he intended to announce in a 1974 subsidiary of A&M Records. At the same time, Threshold Records also wanted Splinter, making a late push to land the South Shields duo for its label. So I'm going to end the video here. Mal was a bit disappointing in this episode. He seemed to love his family so much, but he had no problem going away from them for long periods of time. He didn't even try to hide photos he took of women he was with when he was away from Lily. It's almost as though he wanted her to say, "I want a divorce." I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you haven't subscribed, if you could do it, it would help the channel to grow, as well as giving a thumbs up. It's all a great help. And if you haven't clicked on the notification bell, if you could do that, it lets you know when a video is posted. More importantly, I want to wish everyone a good day, and tune in again soon for another episode of The Beatles Forever. Thank you. Bye.